Hey, good morning, everybody. Just having some coffee, just waking up. Waking up this side of heaven and the first heaven from the third revelation, Jesus Christ. Like John the Revelator. So, let's go back to reality. After about 3 years of spiritual mapping, the Lord showed me how the enemy took the United States, how the enemy took Florida last, how it's all going to be reversed. Started in 2003, and a friend of mine gathered approximately 70 of the leadership here in this town in Manatee County, Bradenton. And it was amazing, not in a good way, in a bad way. It was amazing, just dropped my heart to the ground that the pastors were working for Satan. They didn't want to take a town for Jesus. They wanted money, a swimming pool, hang out, sexual escapades, favors. They wanted the world. And it was just, had me all choked up, had me shocked. Had me shocked that they did not want to take a city for Jesus, a nation for Jesus, because Jesus showed my brother and I, my brother Zephaniah and I, that we could take a nation, we could take a city, we could take a state, we could take the United States back of America from the devil. Through our understanding of spiritual map and how the devil took it and how we unwind everything it did, symbolically of, like I said, grab the little thread in the devil's sweater and then you send him off running, he's naked. So, what people don't understand, the devil has to tell you what he's going to do, how he's going to do it, and then after he does it, he has to leave his business card everywhere, all over it, to explain it. And he's mocking the saints because they're not really the saints. They're not really they're the fallen. They live and die and eat and breathe for stuff, for wanting stuff. To want to rule in hell than to serve in heaven, just as Lucifer. It was shocking. So I asked a friend who gathered these pastors, I says, well, why, I asked different questions, different ways why. He said, well, this pastor here and this pastor here have the biggest churches in Manatee County and in Sarasota. These other ones have the biggest churches in Sarasota County. So, he said, well, they don't believe what they teach. They don't believe what they preach. They don't believe in Jesus. But their school, their teachers ordained them and put them in position of these big, what they call churches, and all they do is a dog and pony show, and they don't believe. So you can't lead somebody to Jesus if you never met him, if you don't believe in him, if you've never been engaged a relationship. You cannot lead people to something that you have not engaged to. If you're engaged to, you can't introduce your groom that's been grooming you, discipling you, if he's not your groom, if Satan's your groom. Lucifer's your groom. So it's just so disheartening that, we only have enough people that, on one hand, actually thoroughly, deeply understand the war, the battle that's been engaged in since thousands of years, and then the turnaround started in 2003, approximately July of 2003, and then we're 19 years into this war of take-back, turnaround. Now, Jesus has already done the legwork, and that's differentiating the difference between the lie, and the lie, and the lie, and the lie, and the truth. Jesus is the way to the truth and the life. Jesus is the truth and the life. So, They block the apostles and prophets from the revelation, just as they tried to boil the disciple in oil. Boil him in oil like a French fry. And he goes up to third heaven and gets the revelation of Jesus Christ, John. And then if you realize, we'll go back and reread the book of Ezekiel. Ezekiel had similar revelation. That's why in the time of John, you see he has the Ezekiel mantle. He has a revelation of Ezekiel. So when he goes to heaven and sits with Jesus only, and then eventually Ezekiel shows up when you're ready, the other teachers show up. So when I go up there, the table has gotten really large. So Enoch shows up, Elijah shows up, Moses shows up, Joseph shows up. On and on and on about the leadership, the movers and the shakers that shook this world and shook the demons to the core in this world are showing up as a cloud of witnesses in heaven as we go up and partake of the marriage supper lamb, 7:14. To show all the different angles that they did, to understand that their book is open, that what happened in their time, like just as I asked Jesus, what happened at Pentecost, Show me Pentecost. They want Pentecost, but all they got is a dog and pony show. All they got is a one-night stand. One-night stand! Who wants a one-night stand? I mean, we're engaged to the groom, the Most High God. Why would we want a one-night stand? And then it says in the book, to forever be with him, never to be separated. Paul was caught up. Prophets were caught up. Moses was caught up. Many were caught up in the time. Joseph was caught up. Jacob was caught up a little bit, but then he was being a brat, being ornery. God was trying to tell him he's the father of God's people. You're the father of God's people. You're the father of God's people. And which the word Israel, you're Israel, the father of God's people. Not that dirt over there that the that the Illuminati, Doomdenati, put in position is a farce. Because they want you to think that land is Israel when Jacob was Israel. Jacob is Israel. And then Joseph brought in the fatherliness, the father in Egypt. He was the father in Egypt. And he even said, he whispered to his daddy that he was the father. He was a father to Pharaoh, which meant a spiritual father, spiritual mentor, a discipleship, a discipler for Pharaoh. Now he said it outside of Pharaoh. And if Pharaoh would have heard what he said, Pharaoh wouldn't understand it, and he would have got pissed and probably fired Joseph, even though the kingdom went really smooth, because he didn't understand the things of the Spirit. That's why his kingdom was messed up until Joseph came into position. And like a general contractor will hire the superintendent. Superintendent will keep everybody flowing to get the project done, to get the building secured and done. Every jot and tittle, every little ornament, every doorknob and screw and nail. He'll keep it all going. They're like the Joseph in the time, the superintendent of the project. Now, the general contractor is like the apostle. And then the architect is the Jesus himself that hands off the revelation to the prophets. And then the prophets hand them off to the apostle. And the apostle hands them off to the pastors, evangelists, pastors, and teachers to implement, to build on the church, not a temple made with hands, but a temple of the Holy Spirit, which you are. One stone connected to another, the knee bone connected to the ankle bone, and so on and so forth. So, and then the whole town would be resurrected. The whole town would have the best restaurants, the best of everything, because it ties back into the past, present, future, to where Joseph daddy and mother and brothers got the best land to graze the cattle. They got the best of everything. Joseph could go in the treasury and take out the jewels and the gold and stick it in Benjamin's backsack or backpack, okay? So these people spite their own selves. They ruin it because They do not want Jesus. They do not want the abundance. They don't want their inheritance. They want what they want. They want what Satan wants. They want, the women and the sexcapades and the monies and the swimming pools and the movie stars. They're not like Uncle Jed. Uncle Jed, you couldn't even steal from him. If you watch the show, even though it's fiction, he tried to give his money away and whatever, and the people couldn't even steal from him because he was so honest. And they tried to sell him the Brooklyn Bridge and whatever, the Golden Gate, and they couldn't even steal from him because he was honest. So if you rewatch what you've already watched and realize that if you wanted what Jesus wanted, everything and everything more abundantly, seek ye first the kingdom of God, and all will be added unto you. But here in Manatee County, which is where I'm at right now, the sinister, snidely, whiplash, devil, satanic, Napoleons, and I didn't know they were short. Jesus said, did you notice they were short? And he showed me that they were beat up and whatever. They got the Napoleon syndrome, like they're just a bunch of punks. And yeah, I mean, Satan's just using and abusing them just like he did in the past. Instead of getting beat up physically, they're being destroyed spiritually. And once he shows me the book, once he opens your book to me and tells me about you, because who is worthy to open up the books? Who's worthy to take off the seals? Jesus. Who's worthy to look in the books? Jesus. Who is worthy to look in the books with Jesus? His prophets. And glimpses, his apostles get glimpses. And so we understand your book. Open up your book to find out where you went wrong, what happened, why you're so beat up, why you've been, why you're doing what you're doing, why you've been found wanting, why you've been abused so bad, and why has the devil caused you to sin so bad. What was the lies that started the mountain, the molehill turned into a mountain? What happened? And the Lord showed me that this kid got beat up a lot when he was young. Got beat up over and over and over. So then he went to karate school, and then he ended up being a black belt, and then on and on and on and on, and then he never got past his insecurity. Never got past his the lies that the people pummeled onto him, beat into him, the lies, just as we beat Jesus with our lies and our curses. They beat the lies into him, says, oh, you're just a punk, blah, 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 and taunting him and taunting him and taunting him, to where he goes, I'm the captain of my ship, the master of my fate. And they end up getting so prideful. Instead of being humbled, not humbled to where you're sniffing the dog poo on the ground, I'm talking submission, humility. To be the greatest among you, Jesus said to be servant of all, to serve everyone in the proper way. Now, the devils, even if you have to work for them, you might work for them for a time and season, but you need to find the door, the escape. Learn what you got to learn, and then you need to escape. Learn what you got to learn, and understand that, and then you have to, you have to get away from this cruel taskmaster, which is satanic boss. Satanic boss. So in this time, we're doing away with the Pharaoh. Joseph, took over Egypt under Pharaoh, but this time Pharaoh's going to pop like a balloon, like a hot air balloon. And we have the sword of the Lord, the Word of God, that'll pop his balloon. And the devil has no rights. He's like the Wizard of Oz. Don't look at the man behind the mirror, which is just a little short guy. If you watch the movie, little short guy. Look at the man behind the curtain. Look at the great Oz. You guys think Satan's some great Oz or something, so you worship him. Bow down to him, cower down to him. Which is what happened here in Manatee County. It happens all over the world. But, a prophet is not honored in his own town, in his own house, in his own family. And most people left Manatee County because they got beat up so bad. They left with ailments, cancer, diabetes, you name it, all the ailments that Satan could destroy them with, because he knew that this would be the unraveling, the unveiling. And when 9/11 happened, President of the day was here. in North Sarasota County, just over the border past Manatee County, and all this stuff went down. And what people didn't understand, these people that were taught to fly planes were taught in Sarasota County. And a lot of the people stayed here in Manatee County to be the pawns for the devil. And then they all left town, and then the president and all his people came into town. It was like to change the demonic guard. So then we don't need to go into that anymore. You can type in the internet if you want to. Kite hit steal now. Kite hit steal now. Kite hit steal now. In the internet to see the chance, the demonic chance. Now, kite is another word for plane. Hit steal now. So the false flag, the missiles, the airplanes, the false flag that make everybody look at New York and call New York ground zero. When actually it was Sarasota, Manatee County's ground zero for the spiritual turnaround for the planet. For the planet! Not just the city, not just the county, not just the state. But these little punks, and you don't have to be punks. Come up and stand up. You don't have to be a punk anymore. Jesus saved you. Jesus is trying to ordain you. Jesus is trying to get rid of your lies, which caused you to sin. Jesus came in and brought forgiveness for you. I don't care how short you are. Stand up, walking tall. Stand up, stand up, stand up for the city, for the county, for the nation. And so, like I say, over 20 years. And you got all these little punks who have no Jesus. You have no authority. You have not the authority of a lion unless you have Jesus. The four faces. Okay, the face of a man, which is us. Face of a lion, which is authority of Jesus. And the face of an eagle, which means we fly to the throne room and back. Look that up. The face of an eagle means we fly high with Jesus. We go to the marriage supper of the Lamb. We caught up. We get revelation from the Lord. And then the feet of a calf or an ox, a beast, which means when we walk on the earth, it sends earthquakes into the planet to make the people, shake the doorpost and make the people understand your authority. So the four faces, Ezekiel wheels, it's different places in the Bible it talks about the four faces. And explained is the eagle, the prophet, the lion, the authority, the strength of an ox, and the eyes of an eagle that can see for miles, which means spiritually they can see all across the land to give you the revelation that you can walk tall in Him in humility. And we can walk tall as in humility, the garment of humility. Jesus is ready. You got a whole racks and racks and racks and racks and, millions of racks of clothing that are called garments of humility. White robes that He's ready to hand out. So you can walk into the marriage supper of the Lamb. That you've been groomed a long time. You're part of the wedding party. You're part of the wedding party. Now, we are just ushers at this time because we usher many in. Now, the bride of Christ is a whole different scope, which is a special position. They don't fight, they don't war, but they sit with Jesus. So the bride and the Spirit say, come. The bride and the Spirit say, come. The Spirit and the bride say, come. To compel you into the marriage supper of the Lamb. And the only way you can get there is through submission. And it was just amazing that had to see all these people die, go to the funerals because they wouldn't enter in, see them be canceled out with the demon of cancer. Cancer comes in as a demonic thing. Cancer comes in because they're not submitted. Cancer comes in because it's a lie that causes you to be shriveled up, causes your sin to do the wrong thing, causes you to be selfish. The fish, sell the fish. You're a selfish fish. You smell like a fish, as a friend used to say. The smell fish. The stench of wanting. Weighed on the scale and found wanting. Instead of want what Jesus wants. Now, if you're listening to this video, you want what Jesus wants. You may not understand it at this time. And you may be in a position in your city for this time to go out. To go out and pray and declare. And brother and I were at the large river, Grand River, and we're on Grand River Avenue on a bridge. And we poured a few drops of oil in the river, put some little tiny crosses in the river. Spanish guy comes up, no speak no English, and he said, he's trying to tell us, but can't speak English, trying to tell us that this is where it all started. This is where it all happened. And he couldn't speak English, so we were interpret what he was saying and to interpret in the tongues, going, wow. So he opened up his hand, and we put some of these little crosses that were anointed with oil in his hand. He nodded his head, and he finally rode off on his bicycle. So here's a guy, no speak, no English, and but has a witness. It's just like, the birds would talk to you, the crows, the ravens fed Elijah. So all of creation groans till now, and a lot of creation knows who we are, but the world, they still want their dog and pony show. They still want their fireplace. They still want their cement pond. They still want what they want. They still want their sex. They still want their drugs. They still want their rock and roll. They still want what they want. And it's sad to see that in over 90% of Christians, they're only Christian in name. They're not married. They're not engaged. Christ is not in them. Christian means Christ in them. Christ I-N, which is really saying Christ I am. Christ is in me. Christ is in me. Christ in me. I'm a Christian. But they're not a Christian. They're only Christian in name only, which is blasphemy. Ananias and Sapphira, the time in that, they drop over dead. So you're going to see people dropping over dead in the meeting soon. And hopefully the pastor will wake up enough to raise them from the dead. But they'll be dropping over dead in the middle of the congregation. It's happened in the past to where I was talking to an usher at a church. And a guy died in the middle of service. And they're trying to give the signs to the pastor to kind of wrap it up. Because they didn't want people to know somebody died in their service. So then ushers slid in the pew and propped up the dead body and pretended it was alive, like Weekend at Bernie's. Tried to pretend the corpse was alive. The guy died in the service. No, what does that tell you? The guy died in the service because it's not a service. It never was supposed to be a service. It's supposed to be a fellowship, a dialogue, a question and answer, like a teachings of Jesus. Jesus taught them. He discipled them. Dialogue. The word dialogue means they give and take and ask questions. And Jesus expounded on the revelation of the parables. And they're not doing that still. So people are dying spiritually in the service. Well, what happens next? They have to die physically in the service. To prove once for all, you guys are teaching death and not life and life more abundantly. And there'll never be life and life more abundantly because you're fleecing the sheep. You're fleecing the sheep, making you a better coat. So you can dress up, so you can have all the best stuff. So disgusting. So went to third heaven. Lord was showing me how I need to explain this, and He's showing me different avenues and stuff of how to kind of hit the nails on the head. That the biggest churches don't even believe what they teach. So it's crazy. So with that, I'll queue up another one. God bless you. Amen.